Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Get ourselves some snacks.
All right, Adam, let's talk about Ella Mccay. I haven't seen it yet, but you just saw the movie yesterday, and you texted me right afterward, and you said, okay, I don't know what people are on about. I loved it. So tell me, like, what's your elevator pitch on this movie for people who are maybe not convinced yet, including maybe myself?
Okay, so I've been thinking about this.
Uh-huh.
For context, let me just start by saying I do understand the criticisms, and I do think the film is flawed.
Okay.
But I think if you are a longtime fan of The Simpsons and specifically love those early seasons episodes that were predominantly, as far as we know, maybe not spearheaded, but had a nice sheen of James L. Brooksiness to them.
Right.
Your Lisa's Substitutes, your Lisa's Ponies, basically really any of the Lisa heavy episodes. But if you love those old Simpson episodes that have a ton of heart, I think you're going to like Ella Mccay.
Okay.
Like, that is the vibe that this movie has to me, is that those sort of early, sincere Simpsons episodes where you're going to laugh, you're going to get a little emotional hit. It might be a little messy along the way. It's very messy along the way. Like, he's doing a lot here. There's no doubt about that. But I halfway through the movie, like, I was laughing out loud. I was getting emotional. And I had that, like, thought to myself of, like, I don't understand how people are saying this is the worst movie they've seen this year. Like, I'm thoroughly enjoying myself. I would be curious to hear your feedback on it because, and I've made this analogy before, and I know you don't maybe fully agree, but I think when we watch movies, at least on this show, I like to think of it as like, I watch with my heart and you watch with your head.
Yeah,
like,
I think that's fair.
You have a much more analytical approach to movie watching. Which to be clear, I greatly admire. I wish I was as smart as you. Whereas I think I have a much more, like, immediate emotional reaction.
Yeah.
And that's why I say my immediate emotional reaction to Ella Mccay is it worked for me emotionally. I know it's a mess. He's all over the place. He's doing so many different things. There's characters that are introduced halfway through or three-quarters of the way through that you're like, whoa, why are we doing this now? Like, it's all over the place. And yet, I was just grinning in ear to ear when I left the theater, and I was like, it's everything that I kind of wanted from it. I also will say I went in with the expectations that were only set by the negative critical reviews. I didn't see the trailers. Right. I'd seen the poster, like everyone's seen that poster, but that always helps. Like, I've really, really started to try and avoid trailers and marketing as much as I can these days.
Yeah.
Because I feel like so much of that colors my expectations. And we've had a lot of discussions on this show about, cake versus pie and, like, how your expectation of a film can really affect your enjoyment of a film.
Well, had you seen the Simpsons marketing this movie? Because that's also an interesting aspect of this, that, like, the Simpsons social media accounts are, you have Julie Kavner, not as Marge, but Julie Kavner on the Simpsons social media accounts talking about this movie. And I just saw a clip as well of, animated Lisa and Marge leaving the movie and talking about how much they loved it, and kind of positioning maybe Lisa and Marge as, like, the target demographic for this movie too, which is kind of interesting. But had you seen that going in?
To that point, I want to say, so I went to a 1:00 screening yesterday. So a 1:00 screening on a Sunday, opening weekend. There were 4 other people in the theater with me.
Sure.
And they would be best described as our mothers and our grandmother. Like, so that's sort of, to say it's Lisa and Marge coded, like, yes, although I guess it's also more coded to the age that the actors portraying Lisa and Marge are.
Right.
And, James L. Brooks is like 85 years old. So, like, again, I don't think that I necessarily was the target demographic, but I had seen that marketing and found it a little bizarre.
It's interesting, for sure.
See, I saw the Julie Kavner as Julie Kavner sort of promoting the movie. Longtime Simpsons fans will know Julie Kavner basically does no press for The Simpsons.
Right.
Like, there's that famous, and this is a great sidebar if you haven't seen it, the famous Inside the Actors Studio with the cast of The Simpsons. And if memory serves, Julie Kavner is not in it at all, or if she is, she's in it very briefly and then leaves. Like, most of it is, but like, you've got basically the rest of the main cast are all there.
All of them, yeah.
So yeah, like, Kavner very famously just doesn't do Simpsons press. So to then see her, it's this sort of like jarring sort of jump scare of like, whoa, like, I haven't seen Julie Kavner in 30 years. Was not expecting her to look this old. But yeah, I saw the Simpsons marketing. And again, like, honestly, I kind of found that a bit, I don't want to say off-putting, but it was sort of like, I understand why this is happening. And then I recently found out that the rumor is that Brooks was able to get this movie greenlit if he could convince people to make a second Simpsons movie, which now is sort of like putting the pieces together makes a lot of sense. You're like, oh, okay, like this, Fox is using The Simpsons to promote this because Brooks was using The Simpsons to get this movie made. Like, it's clear there's like a give and take relationship happening here. But that was, again, like, it was sort of, they had a couple little clips here and there, and like not there's obviously no spoilers and no real sense of like what the movie is about, which again also sort of speaks to, actually, no, you know what? I'm going to take that back, because people are saying, I don't know what this movie is about. And I don't think that's fair. It's like, it's just about this young woman who is sort of thrust into the limelight and ultimately, you know, while does not step down from her convictions, even when it would behoove her.
Right.
In all facets of her life, whether it's her career, her personal life, and her family life, she consistently does what she feels is right, and we see the ramifications of that. I guess is what
someone
I
who
would say.
can't help herself, sort of.
Yeah, but I think, here's what I will say. I think a lot of the sniffiness that I am seeing about the film, some of it is justified, because I do think the film is a bit sprawling and maybe a bit shambolic. Like, it's trying to bite off more than it can chew. You know, it's 2 hours long, which is too long. And again, there's rumors that the script was even longer. Like, it might have been a 2.5 hour kind of James L. Brooks epic, which, you know, I think his last few movies have been very, very long. And, you know, from listening to this show, how I feel about comedies, they should be 90 minutes or less. So I think some of the criticism there is justified, but I think a lot of the criticism is just coming from cynicism. This is not a cynical movie.
Yeah.
It is very austere, very, very Lisa-like, right? Like, Lisa is this optimist who, you know, sticks to her guns always. And Ella is very, very, very much the same way. And so I think it's very easy when you look at the last year or last decade to be very cynical and say this would not happen. It's
especially in politics.
Well, exactly. And I think that's maybe what it is that it's unfathomable that there is a politician who would be like this. Mm-hmm. And so people will say this movie is unrealistic. And I am on the record as liking The West Wing and the Aaron Sorkin sort of like overly optimistic political outlook. That is obviously based on how the last few years of politics in the States, but also internationally, have gone, is clearly a fantasy. Right. So maybe I'm predisposed to like this because while I admittedly can be cynical, I think there is a part of me that wants to believe in that sort of greater good and that Sorkin-esque, or I guess Brooks-esque fantasy world that people are ultimately good and good will win out over bad. But I think that is part of it, is that the movie is not realistic in that regard, although it's set in 2008 during the Great Recession, as it were. And I don't know if that's a way to avoid modern politics or, you know, if that's just because Brooks felt he wanted to set it at that period. But I do think that is also part of where people are bumping against the film, is just that they don't find it believable.
Right. It doesn't resonate even if it's, you know, maybe in some other age, it was more realistic, but just like doesn't feel like the right message for the moment, I guess.
But I get, and it's funny. It's the holiday season, and this is being pivoted sort of to a holiday release,
right?
Which is interesting. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like there's. Maybe it's because I'm an old soul and I'm a softie and I'm a dad. Like, I remember one of my favorite movies I saw this year was Bridget Jones's... what is it called? I can't even remember.
Mad About the Boy?
Mad About the Boy, yeah.
That was great. I love that movie. I thought it was fantastic.
Cried like a baby watching that movie. Like, and again, like... No one was more surprised by that than me. Like, I liked the first Bridget Jones movie. I didn't love it, and I thought all the sequels were kind of dog shit, but... I had to review it and I was like, whatever, like I'll watch it. And literally I just remember sitting in my bedroom on my laptop watching the screener and just sobbing. And my wife came in and she was like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, Bridget Jones is getting to me.
It's really good. I don't know what to say. I mean, people should not be cynical about that movie. It's genuinely great.
But I think it's like, that's sort of the feeling I was having coming out of this of like, it worked. And it's funny too. I said, I think this movie is going to get rediscovered on airline in-flight entertainment systems.
Totally.
And people are going to watch it. And I've heard this is a thing that I think, what does Mark Kermode call it? It's like altitude lacrimosity syndrome or something, where like for some reason when people are at that altitude and on a plane, you're just like naturally more emotional, and people do have a tendency to get more weepy about certain things like movies like this. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's going to happen is people are going to be on a plane. They're going to see it. They'll be like, yeah, okay, I'll watch it. And then they'll be predisposed to be like a little bit more emotional already. And they're going to get wrapped up in it. And, you're going to see the narrative maybe change. I don't know. I could be totally wrong. By all accounts, this movie is going to flop and like whatever. There is that other part of me too that is just like, hey, it's a studio comedy, much like Naked Gun. It's like I'm rooting for these things to come back.
Yeah.
It basically, this one might have cost a lot of money because it's James L. Brooks, but it's like in the grand scheme of things, like Avatar is coming out. This cost a hell of a lot less than Avatar. So just make them and put them in theaters, and like Disney, you're gonna be fine. Like you're gonna be fine even if you take a wash on this. Like I all this is to say is that for our audience, an audience of Simpsons fans that I have to assume, I could be wrong, but I have to assume is sort of like us and kind of appreciates and gets in touch with their emotions when they watch some of those episodes. Like we talked about the Christmas episode last year that literally while we're recording it, I started crying thinking about it. But that's the feeling that I got watching this. Like, is that sort of like, I laughed, I cried, I know that it's flawed and problematic and there are subplots that could get pulled out or like properly fleshed out, or just like, it needs work. Like, I'm not saying it's a masterpiece, but we watched Freaky Friday with my wife a couple weeks ago, months ago.
The original or the sequel?
Well, not the original, the original remake with Lindsay Lohan.
Remake.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The one we saw in theaters together.
Yes.
We watched that, and when it finished, my wife goes, 5 out of 5, perfect movie. And I go, oh. And she's like, well, what would you give it? And I'm like, well, I wouldn't give it like 5 out of 5. And she's like, well, why not? I was like, well, what do you mean? She's like, it does exactly what you expect it to do.
Yeah.
And what else would you want from that movie?
Right.
And I was like, you know what? That's a good point. Like, it's not what I would necessarily classify as a 5-star masterpiece.
Right.
But it did exactly what it set out to do. It doesn't overstay its welcome, which like maybe Ella Mccay does a little bit. But that's sort of like how I'm going into thinking it too. Is like, if
it's cake, you gotta measure it on the cake scale.
Exactly. And sometimes, you go in you go in wanting to just like kind of pull up a blanket and laugh and cry, and it delivers on that. And what else could you ask for? Like, I don't know. That's kind of my take on it, is like, I'm seeing these, when I see these reviews, like, again, it's too long, it's shambolic, it's got like, it's messy, it's a little unfocused, but at the same time, like, I don't know, like, I don't need everything to be perfect.
Well, and when you think about it in the grand scheme of like movie watching in general, right? Like we are right now, it's in theaters. We are measuring it against other things that are in theaters right now. But like you said, like when you're on a streaming service, not to say this should have gone to streaming, but just in general, when all of film history is flattened out before you, and you could choose anything to watch, and you're just like, I don't know, I feel like a romantic comedy tonight, or I feel like a dramedy tonight, I guess is more appropriate, right? And then it's just showing up on your feed alongside other James L. Brooks movies from 30 or 40 years before, and like other stuff probably mostly from 30 or 40 years before, right?
Yeah.
Then how is it going to stand up for people? Like that's I think maybe what you're getting at is like, you know, its reception may change over time because its context is going to change over time, right? And people may be in the mood for it in a different kind of way than they are going to movie theaters in 2025 right now.
Yeah, it definitely feels old-fashioned in that regard, but like again, that's
okay. I think.
Yeah, there's kind of, like I said, it's like a warm blanket sort of feeling that I got of like we don't get movies like this anymore, really.
Yeah.
And when we do, like you said, they're usually punted straight to streaming, and they don't necessarily look very good, or you could tell that they didn't have like proper studio notes and could use a couple more passes or whatever. Like, it's funny going back to the sort of like what more could you ask for. I'm reminded of my wife's reaction to Wicked and my reaction to Wicked, and how I felt that Wicked was a flawed movie, especially on a technical level. She loved it. It was exactly what she wanted. So she would maybe, I mean, she still to this day says it's the best movie she's seen in a movie theater ever. I think that's not, I do not feel that way.
Sure.
But if I think about these two movies, it's like Ella Mccay is not flawed on like, it's flawed maybe from a writing level of like, it's got too much, it's bit off more than it can chew, but like technically speaking, like it looks good. It's like well acted. It's well edited. Like there's no sort of like technical flaws there. Which I also is, so it's like, again, so what more do you want? Like, you just want it to be shorter and a little more focused? Okay, but like, is that the difference between it being a disaster and recommendable?
And that's also like our entire era of film right now. You could give that note to almost any movie. It's a little meandering and could have been a little tighter. It's like, you say that about everything you see now because, I guess a variety of reasons, right? But we have less of a problem with these long movies. Maybe studios aren't involved enough or aren't involved in the right ways, right? Like maybe that's more what it is. It's not the amount, it's like how they're involved. But in general, it's just, you just feel like you have these 2.5-hour movies that are almost TV shows in the way that they're structured, or like almost a TV series in the way that they're structured. You know,
what I will say is, if you don't buy in by the end of the first act, it's not going to work for you.
Sure.
Like that. It's one of those movies you kind of just have to get on board or get off. And the first act is doing a bunch of like time jumps and like they're showing thankfully they don't try to de-age the actors like digitally or whatever, and they do actually do a pretty good essentially what they do is they give Emma Mccay, which is the fact that the actor's name is so close to the character's name is very
isn't it Mackey?
Emma Mackey, yes.
Emma Mackey, not to be confused with Ella Mccay.
Yeah, exactly. They do the classic. This is like a joke on, I can't remember what sitcom, but it's like they just give her bangs, and then that makes her look 15 years younger. But it kind of works. And like same with Jack Lowden, who plays her like husband. They just basically give him like a shaggy haircut, and all of a sudden he looks like he's 15.
There you go.
But like, I appreciate that. Like, yes, it's kind of like an old school approach, but like,
that's fine. I don't hate the de-aging stuff. I would rather see people. We just rewatched Little Women, right? The Greta Gerwig version.
Okay, yeah.
And it's like, watching that, it's like Florence Pugh plays a huge age range in that movie. And it's all acting. Like, they don't really, like, age her down, even with makeup or anything. Like, she's styled a little differently, but it's mostly acting. And it's great. Like, it's so much more satisfying in some ways than watching some weird, smoothed-out AI, face that looks weird,
In this, like, Jamie Lee Curtis has color in her hair when she's younger, and then when she's older, she has great, like, her natural hair color. She wears a lot of makeup when she's younger, too, which is, like, very noticeable. But, like, again, I don't care. Like, I know that Jamie Lee Curtis is old, and I would rather, I mean, there is an argument to be made that, like, if there was a massive, age range, like like the thing I always refer to as like the Godfather 2 thing versus
Sure.
the Irishman thing. Like, I would much rather you hire Robert De Niro to play young Marlon Brando than to have a de-aged Marlon Brando.
Absolutely.
But when it's like 10 or 15 years and it like doesn't really matter, then I don't give a shit that it's Jamie Lee Curtis pretending that she's 40, and I know what she looked like when she was 40, and she doesn't really look like how she looked when she was 40, but I don't care because it's Jamie Lee Curtis. I just want to watch Jamie Lee Curtis. Like,
well, that's it, right? I mean, really what it comes down to is the acting. It's like, do you have a person that's actually able to act in that role? And I find the de-aging stuff very distracting from the performance. And so it's just like, I just want to see them be able to use all of their tools, whether that's the person who's playing the older role, or it is a younger actor who's able to do kind of a good impersonation, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
It's way more satisfying. But on that note, I mean, I feel like, the cast is really important to this genre, right? For a dramedy. So tell me about the cast. Who stood out? And I mean, obviously Julie Kavner's in this, so that's kind of interesting from a Simpsons perspective, and haven't seen her on film in a while. And then you have Albert Brooks too, right? Who's a frequent guest on The Simpsons. So tell us about the cast. How did that shake out?
I mean, let's start with our Simpsons characters. So, I mean, again, seeing Julie Kavner it's a bit of a jump scare at first because, like I said, I haven't seen her in probably 30 years, and you're like, oh, she's old. But of course she is. And she's great. Like, she's so funny. She's a legend, and it was so cool to get to see her do her thing, and I love that. Albert Brooks is doing the Albert Brooks thing, and is probably, like, again, when you talk about the shabby nature of this movie, like, his character is integral, but, like, also not super fleshed out, and it's sort of like, it's a glorified cameo, I guess I would call it. But, like, at the same time, anytime Albert Brooks is on screen, I'm happy because I get to watch Albert Brooks do the Albert Brooks thing. Like, I have no complaints. Yep. So, do I wish there was more of it? Maybe, but it's not really, that's not what this movie's about, so I don't really need that. I would say the one actor who, again, is always great, Woody Harrelson plays her dad. Okay. And that's the one, that is a character and role that, like, again, feels like, where are we going with this? And never fully, like, it is resolved, but not in a super satisfying way, and he just sort of keeps popping up in sort of like a, that's one of those valid criticisms of, like, this needed more work. This either needed more work to be fleshed out to make it, to justify its existence, or pulled out because it's just muddying the story. Right. Essentially, he plays Ella's dad, and very, very early on in the film, we find out that he's a womanizer, and basically the rest of the movie is the fact that, like, she cannot forgive her father, and he keeps begging for her forgiveness whenever he randomly pops up. But it does always feel random when he pops up. So what are we trying to say here? Is this relevant to the overall story? Like, a little bit, but, like, it just needed more work to make that work. Jamie Lee Curtis is great as always, but she's sort of doing her late period Jamie Lee Curtis matriarchal thing. I have no complaints about it. I love her. I've always loved her. She can be a bit broad at times, but, like, that's fine. Like, she gets a pass
that's
for
kind
me.
of at home, I feel like, in this. I mean, Julie Kavner's also a little broad, but like, in a charming way. She has such a persona, that you want to see that come out,
But, like, Emma Mackey, it's her show, and she's phenomenal. Like, and I think that's maybe why I love the movie so much, is I liked this character, I liked this performance, I was emotionally connected to her, I was rooting for her, I felt bad for her when I needed to feel bad for her, plot machinations, like, aside, like, like, it's all, because there's this whole scandal, and the scandal is kind of silly and kind of dumb, but, like, again, I don't care. Like, it's the MacGuffin thing, right? Like, it's just a means to get us to the next beat, or to get us to the emotional place we need to be, or get the characters to the emotional place they need to be. Like, this is not, I don't know, it's not Shakespeare, but it's not supposed to be. Like,
did you see Emma Mackey in Sex Education? Because, like, we watched that whole series and really enjoyed it. But
no, I've seen her in other stuff, and I've always sort of joked that I'm like, she's the better Margot Robbie, because, like, people always get her mixed up with Margot Robbie, and whenever she's in something, I'm like, I like her perform. Yeah, so I'm, like, glad that she's getting an opportunity to, like, lead a movie, and it's a bummer if people are shitty about the movie, and this could have been 30 years ago. Being the lead of a James L. Brooks movie is probably your
ticket.
your path. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a ticket to stardom. Mm-hmm. And obviously, like, stardom is a totally different thing in 2025 regardless, but it's just, it would be a bummer if this movie ends up meaning that she doesn't end up getting more work, because I do think she's really talented and really great in this, and, like, for all its faults, like, it only works because of her performance.
Yeah.
Jack Lowden plays her husband. Jack Lowden, people probably, I don't know how people would necessarily know. I know him from the brilliant Apple TV series Slow Horses.
Oh, sure.
He's so good in that show. And he's, I didn't even, for the first sort of few times he was on screen, I was like, I recognize this guy. Who is it? And then it finally clicked, that's who it was. Which sort of speaks to the chameleon nature of the performance. That, like,
right, and both of them British?
He's, I believe he's Scottish, but
okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
British adjacent,
Commonwealth
right?
people, but not Americans.
Not Americans. And his character is flawed, and the writing of his character is kind of flawed, but, like, he does what he needs to do with the character, and it works. Kumail Nanjiani's in it, and he's great because he's Kumail Nanjiani. Like, this is what I mean. Like, everybody who's in it is talented, and Iowa Debris is in it. Like, I mean, she's the character who kind of shows up in the last act and, like, out of nowhere, and you're like, wait, what? Like, you had her, and you only are bringing her in now. Yeah. But it's the scene between her and Ella's brother, who I'm so sorry, I don't know the name of the actor. I think he's a relatively new actor. But their scenes by the end, that was, like, sort of the moment that, like, I was just, like, smiling and grinning and laughing, and I was like, I don't know, man. This is like, that was the point where I was like, this movie has absolutely won me over, despite me knowing that it's flawed. I just was like, I can't not enjoy this. I can't not be won over by this. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I want to encourage our listeners to check it out, even if it's not, well, if it's not your cup of tea, it's probably, like, I'm not going to convince you that it is, but I think if you're someone who likes to can appreciate and enjoy an emotional comedy, I think you're going to like this. Is it broadcast news? No. Not by a long shot.
Few things are.
Exactly, right? Like, that's the thing. At the end of the day, it's funny, we're recording this the day after the untimely passing of Rob Reiner. Yeah. But I can't help but sort of compare it to his sort of career arc. And again, like, this is a guy who had, like, I think one of the greatest streaks in cinema history that is unparalleled by even some of my favorite filmmakers. But you can only make When Harry Met Sally once, right? Like, and the fact that he made other incredible masterpieces, but they're all different kind of movies that are not like When Harry Met Sally. Princess Bride is maybe, like, the closest. So it's like, to expect James L. Brooks to make broadcast news again is unfair. It's not, he's not going to do that. But at the end of the day, he also is the guy who made the fucking Mary Tyler Moore Show. Like, he knows how to do this shit.
And The Simpsons.
And The Simpsons, right? Like, this is what I mean. So it's like, it's flawed, it's shaggy, it's shambolic at times. I just don't care. I had a great time, and that's all I can ask for. And if you like this kind of movie, or are lamenting the lack of this kind of movie, then I think you need to go see this movie. Yeah. Because, that's what drives me crazy, is, like, all these people who are like, oh, I'm so burnt out on sequels. All they ever do is sequels. And then a non-sequel movie is out, and nobody fucking goes to see it. It's like, well, vote with your wallet. And I know, like, that's meaningless, but at the same time, it's like, you are given the opportunity to do this, and you're like, well, I'm just going to wait until it's on streaming. Like, well, then you're not going to get these movies anymore, guys. So, like, if you are sick and tired of just seeing the same thing in theaters over and over again, then when you have the chance to see something different, take it. Take the risk. Yeah, you might not like it, but, like, at the end of the day, what are you out? You're at $13 and 2 hours of your life? I don't know. Like, for me, that's a dice roll I'm willing to take at this point.
Yeah. And it sounds like you rolled a 6, like, it sounds like it was like a great experience, and a movie that, you know, like hit you in an emotional spot and made you laugh. So like, you know, that's a win in my books. And you've certainly convinced me, so I'm gonna have to get my ass out there and check it out.
I mean, this will be the real test, because like I genuinely don't know what your reaction will be, because I mean, I know When Harry Met Sally is one of your all-time favorite movies, but I also know that this is not your kind of movie.
No,
so,
it's a genre that I have a very high bar for, is how I would describe it. Whereas, like, you know, action movies, it's like I have a very low bar for action movies, and I'll watch crap and have a decent time. Whereas when I don't like a dramedy or a romantic comedy, I generally really don't like it. And so, but I have a good feeling about this one. I mean, number one, like the cast seems amazing. It's just like all people I just love to watch on screen. And also it's shot in Providence, Rhode Island. It's just a place that's like near and dear to my heart.
Exactly.
And so like literally I was watching the trailer and just being like, oh, I know that place. And it's not a place that you see on screen, like ever. And so I think just the fact that you're going to be immersed in some visuals that you're not used to, right? It's not the same. It's not Atlanta. It's not whatever. The places Toronto that are on screen all the time. It's something a little different. So like from that perspective, I find that very exciting. So I'm convinced. I'm going to check it out, and I hope y'all will too, because let's support some different types of movies in theaters, right?
I mean, that's the other thing. When the Gracie Films logo, like on the big screen, like it's just like, okay, it's just it gives you that feeling of like, okay, I know what I'm in for, and I loved it. So I've gone from saying I liked it to I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it.
Good.
And I hope you do too. So.
Shh.